So using implant selection, I want to give you some quick thing on some implant things. So the classification, by, I always show this slide because Michael Mont. I don't have any clue, and a lot of talks on stems will have this classification. I don't know why he described this, because I got no use at all. So remember that when you have knowledge which is not useful, it is not only not useful, it is actually a disadvantage. Because today we live in a world of knowledge everywhere, WhatsApp and everywhere, knowledge everywhere. So if we have knowledge that's not useful, it's detrimental, because our brain's gray cells have only that much space. So you must not pick up things like this, okay? Now, interestingly, Michael Mont is part of a designer group for our, and I always pull his leg regarding this classification. I always say, why did you write this classification, Michael? He always laughs at it, yeah. So he is part of the design group. So I'm a very close friend of mine now. He has classified everything. Whenever he has nothing to do, he'll write on classification. And unfortunately, all over the world, people keep talking in talks and talk after talk and talk. So THR, so where have we come? That's the using implant selection to the benefit of the patient. Now we're talking about micro differences, yeah. Now, this lady is also playing tennis. Now, these guys also play tennis. Both are tennis, but they're not same, only different. So we must learn to become very, very, very good at it, because it become a mature science. So becoming addicted to constant and never-ending self-improvement. So when you think that you are very good in THR, so there's recently in one of the conferences, one surgeon came and said, I've done about 60, 70 primary THR, I'm very good. Can you post a lot of revision cases for me in a week? I want to come and learn revision THR surgery. So I said, it's great that you have become expert, because at 7,000 cases, I still haven't become an expert in primary THR. So this is the concept that you must have, that you must get better and better and better. They're collared, better and better. How can I keep on improving? But one day somebody will be better than you. That also you have to keep in mind. So common errors that made non-simulated stems are for complex situation. I covered that. You are using like the classical primary when you have a complex situation. Choosing stems for the young patient, same stem for, this is the most important point I want. If you are using the same stem for all patients, may not be the great thing anymore. Recognizing failure modes and dealing with it, Dorr C femurs, population low offset. These are all you must recognize on the X-ray. Everything is based on X-rays. So this is the way you must look at stems, whether they're ream-only stems. So therefore, you can make them cradioconally, you can move them. That's the clinical importance of that. So any knowledge that you have must have clinical importance. Whereas these are the rasp-only stems. The rasp-only stems preserves the diaphyseal so that you can use the other things. Now, two other stems that we have in India, that one which has ream and rasp. So once you start reaming, then you're starting to engage the diaphyseal. May not be good in our young patients. It's great in elderly patients in Caucasian population, but not good in our population, because you're engaging diaphyseal and you're losing that bone for further. So in Asian patients have different morphology. That's very important. So this one stem fits all principle certainly does not fit. The most important thing is that the AP diameter to the medial lateral, we call the APML ratio. You can see this one, AP is narrow. You can see that AP is almost as much as it. So if you think that every stem will fit that doesn't work at all. So it's time to start looking at APML ratio. So we all know about the Dorr index, but there's another index further up. That is the Noble index. All are based on X-rays. So you must start looking at the Noble index as well. And stem. So I have about 5-6 primary THRs in my OR every day. So I'm able to do whatever the patient needs. But if you don't have, you must learn to take it from the X-rays and arrange suitable implants. So I always give this example. So all of them, some of them may say Louis Philippe fits me best, or somebody may say Van Heusen. Although the size may be 42, the fitting is different, yeah. So like that, for each patient, you have to give them, if you really think of getting that pinnacle of THR, you must make a stem that fits for them. So this is the APML ratio I was saying. So we always measure the APML ratio, and you can see this patient almost is like a circular femur. So you need to have something that's broad. What will not work in this case is accolade, like that case that we did. So APML ratio is very important. So I'd encourage you to look at APML ratio and look at that. So the Actis has got a most phenomenal. I'll show you the APML ratio. AP is very big. So if you find a AP canal like this, Actis is the excellent stem to use in that situation. So it's been well described. The APML. So the importance is that you must get metaphyseal stability. Your stem may be stable, but you will be getting diaphyseal stability, and that is a recipe for a problem which also I'll cover. Serious problem. So your stability must be here. If you get stability here, and in a stem like this, which is circular, you don't get stability here, then that's a problem. It's a real problem. So different stems that we have in the market, the accolade will have the lowest AP diameter, the corail will be a little more than that, the polar will be more, the actis has got the best AP stability. So if you have a sort of a large APML ratio, actis would be appropriate, and then it's got a nice small collar as well. So again, I compared the brooches. You can see the corail, polar, and the actis brooches. You can see that the actis that's got the APML. So depending on what APML ratio, that's one of the factors that you have to decide on what you're going to put inside. Now this is the important thing that is not covered in the conference, but I think it's very important that you must not get stability here. The process is stable, make no mistake. You find process of nitrous stable, that's very good, but your stability has been diaphyseal. Now there's not much of a problem in the Western population because their bones are large. So it's unlikely for them to get a diaphyseal fit, but it's very, very, very common in Asia. So the stems that we have, which we think they got high long-term success, have been published in Western literature. This is a serious problem in Asia, very serious, and it's known as spotting, that you get diaphyseal fixation and you don't get proximal fixation. And therefore you get relative metaphyseal undersizing, so it's wobbly. And then if a patient complains of pain, next time patient comes and applies the thigh pain, you have a patient is ruled out infection, you do a bone scan, it lights up like this. This is a diaphyseal catch. It occurs in any of the stems that we have on the market, and that's because your technique has been poor and you have got diaphyseal fixation, relative metaphyseal undersizing, and therefore it's wrong. So this patient's pain will never go away, you have to revise them. Now once you start having a high volume of revisions, you start seeing all this, and then you have to learn how to prevent it in your primary surgery. Yeah. So these are all the cases that so far we have done 14 of these, you can see, and the classical finding, Rohit showed me a case like this. Yeah. So when you find this hypertrophy of the cortex, classical hypertrophy of the cortex, and hypertrophy of the cortex, that shows that you have got diaphyseal fitting. This all occurs at medium term, 4 or 5 years later. But then you have got metaphyseal undersizing, you start developing radiolucent lines in all zones. And people think it's the osteomyelitis. And then they'll do 2-stage surgery and all that. Yeah. But that is a very classical diaphyseal potting, classical catch. Yeah. So this is a collared stem. Collared stem does not protect you against potting and metaphyseal undersizing. Does not protect you against that. So the most important point is how do you recognize it during surgery and how do you deal with it. The first thing is here, if you see, I'll show you how our OR or fellows will be always writing the Dorr index, always for all patients. So important to know the Dorr index. So when the Dorr index is 0.4, 0.3, you are really letting yourself in that problem, and you must ream that canal. That's a very important point. And second thing is the diaphyseal catch. That means, when you rasp, I think it's maybe a video will run. Video is not running, but so the rasp must again engage only in the last 1.5 to 2 centimeters, but starts engaging very early. That means you are looking at a diaphyseal potting. Then you must learn to ream it and then prevent. The last thing is that, which is what I will give the take-home message for you. So for all stems, for Asian population, different from Western population. Very important message that I want to give. So for the corail is there, we have worked out for all the stems. But for the corail, for example, if you use size 52 socket, very, very important point. Please take a photograph of this. You must use a minimum 11. And if it happens to be 12, 13, that's fine. But you cannot use a 9. Okay? Very, very important point. If you then you got diaphyseal potting. And that's why you'll get medium-term failures. It'll all look very stable, patient is fine initially, and then 2 years later he comes and says, I have thigh pain. And that you want to avoid that. Okay? Now this is my own patient. Before ratio, I used, you can see that. I got excellent stability. The patient is still doing fine, but that's metaphyseal undersizing. And after we recognize this ratio, we've done the correct sizing here. Both, I'm the surgeon in both, when I didn't know about all these concepts. Okay? So we've discussed a lot of this in the SIA thing as well. And this is the patient from Sunshine Adesh's institution. And you can see that they developed this problem. And you can see the size of the femoral head, size of the socket 52, and unsymptomatic coral 8. Day 1, I can say is going to fail, medium term. I don't have to wait for anything. Day 1. Because the ratio, if you go back, the ratio it says For a 52, you need a minimum of 11. But you've got a 8 stem, you've got diaphyseal catch. You've got a diaphyseal catch here. Dorr A, diaphyseal catch, and that failed, and that had to be revised as well. Okay, so how do you deal with the situation? Once you find, these 3 things that tells you that you are getting into a diaphyseal catch, you have to, if you have power reamers, straight power, rigid reamers, you have to ream 0.5 more than the stem size you are using. That way, Corail is fantastic because it tells you what to ream. For example, for 11, you'll ream 11.5, but if you have only flexible trauma reamers, you'll ream 1 millimeter more. No harm in reaming extra. So, 12, otherwise, you'll have to ream 11.5 to get that. So, that's a very, very important point in Asian patients. Why a lot of people are unaware? Because not common in the Caucasian population. And therefore, it's not in the Caucasian literature. And therefore, we tend to ignore it. Okay. Now, these are the typically how my OR will look. I will always have a spine lateral decubitus film. There's Noble's index. There is a Dorr index for all patients. There is lumbar lordosis. There's a PT. These are minimum criteria that you need before you're doing any THR today, so that you don't come across failures. Okay, then the one other point only I want to cover, that is the neck shaft angle. So I think time has come that you can see that, that neck shaft angle is also very, very important, and we cannot ignore the neck shaft angle anymore. So here is a patient, you can see that the neck shaft angle is 130. And this, I'll go to the next one, probably more. Yeah, here the thing is 126. Now I've done a Corail on that. You can see it's okay, patient is okay, but the biomechanics have not been reconstructed. Can you see that? It's been 3D balanced, because I've never accepted anything without 3D balance, but I have not recreated biomechanics. It's there for everyone to see, because it's a very obvious example. Because whether you use a Corail or a polar stem, you cannot recreate the biomechanics. So with a 135 stem, you cannot. So you need to have a stem with a lower neck shaft angle. Now your leg length and offset are same. That's what I point out. Once you start using robotics and navigation, you'll understand the leg length and offset are the same. But neck shaft angle is the other important parameter that you cannot choose to ignore. So we now will take the neck shaft angle, and depending on that, for example, the Actis stem has got a 131 neck shaft angle. So we'll use the Actis. We need accolade with 127 we have. We have the polar with a 126 angle. So that is another very important point, the NSA, for you to choose which stem that you can see on the X-ray, and I can arrange a suitable implant. Don't ignore that parameter. Now Dorr C we showed. My own case I've done subsided. So if you have a collar here, probably it wouldn't have subsided. Yeah. So that's the other thing. So I will not go into all this. Dorr C femur. Dorr C femur. Yeah. So the point I want to make is, if you are going to use a neck of femur, do THR for neck of femur. Neck of femur by definition are Dorr C. Otherwise they won't have a neck of femur. Not traumatic case. These are all trivial injury. So you have to use a collar. So tomorrow you have a litigation against you that the surgeon in another couple of years time, and everybody is aware of this concept, saying the septum subsided, I did for a fractured neck of femur, and the expert is sitting there, he's going to tell you, sorry, I can't defend you. You have not used a collar. So remember that neck of femur is a Dorr C by definition. So you have to use a collar there. So again, I'll probably stop with that. Yeah. Okay. We'll go to the next talk.